SLNS IAS Academy. This is Dr. Pavani Reddy. So let us see the important articles in the current affairs. The first important one which is in the current affairs is related to the UN High Seas Treaty. Okay, so the United Nations High Seas Treaty. So high seas are generally part of the oceans, right? The oceans are called as, which are not under any jurisdiction of any nation, are called as high seas. Okay, so what is this treaty? So this treaty has been adopted in 2023. At which conference? So when did it was adopted? So it was adopted in the 5th United Nations Intergovernmental Conference. Okay, so this conference is related to the marine biodiversity of areas beyond the national jurisdiction. Okay, so this treaty is very important or critical related to the marine biodiversity of the areas which are present out of the national jurisdiction. Okay, so that is out of the EEZ, exclusive economic zone. Okay, so why is this treaty is in news? Because Morocco, it became the 60th country to ratify this treaty, that is to adopt this treaty. Now this treaty is legally binding the Morocco nation and it is going to enforce from January 2026. So it became the 60th country of implementing the UN High Seas Treaty. Okay, so this treaty is very important for us in our environment, for the prelims as well as for the mains. So what are the important facts you need to remember regarding this treaty? So the official name of this treaty is the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Treaty, BBNJT. Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Treaty, BBNJT. So this is very famously or popularly called as the Paris Agreement for the Ocean. So we have the Paris Agreement in 2015 for the climate change. So this is equally, this which is very important, right? So this is equally important for the oceans, right? So what is the significance of this treaty? So this treaty will protect the marine biodiversity in high seas or international water beyond the EEZs, exclusive economic zone. Okay, so what is the purpose of this treaty? So this treaty will provide legal sanctions on the countries which ratified or which adopted this treaty. So thereby we can protect the international water, the marine biodiversity, where we have the hotspots of the biodiversity. So for that reason, it is very important. So what is the goal? So the goal of this treaty is to place 30% of the seas into protected areas by 2030. So from 5 years from now, okay, so at least 30% of the international waters must be kept under protection. So on land we have many protected areas, like we have the national parks, we have the wildlife sanctuaries, etc. Similarly, the international waters must also be protected by how much percentage? At least 30% by 2030. Okay, so this is the goal, and under which framework it was adopted? This is also very important. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UN clause. So this is again very important as part of our prelims, right? So what is the nature? That is legally binding. So if a country is not adhering to this treaty, then it will have the legal sanctions. Okay, so the next important points you need to remember is the provisions. So now Morocco has ratified it. Okay, so from now onwards, the environmental impact assessment for the projects is mandatory. So any economic activity or commercial projects which are taking place in the international waters so require the environmental impact assessment. So that project, how it is affecting the environment, how it is affecting the marine life, etc., need to be provided. So that is one important mandatory provision for the treaty. Okay. So what is the benefit sharing? Okay. So countries are adhering, they are following, they are doing environmental impact assessment. Then what is the benefit they are getting? So the benefit is equitable sharing of benefits of the international waters. So the exploitation of the marine animals or the marine life forms is being shared equitably among different nations which ratified to this treaty. So this is the first important topic. So the next important article we have NCLAT. So what is NCLAT? The National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. So this is a tribunal or a quasi-judicial body which is dealing with the company law, any disputes related to the companies, and also it will deal the appeals. So if a company is not satisfied with the judgment, then it will reach the NCLAT as part of its appellate jurisdiction. Right. So recently NCLAT said that CCI has no power to examine the dispute which are related to the patent rights. So what is CCI? Competition Commission of India. So this NCLAT said the CCI has no power to examine. Okay, so we'll see firstly about the NCLAT because this is very important for our prelims point of view. Right, so it is a quasi-judicial body which is established under the Companies Act 2013. Okay, so what is the objective? So it will resolve within a specific period of time the disputes of the various companies. So thereby it will promote the efficiency of the corporate governance. So the disputes are resolved in a very specific and short period of time. That is the speciality of the NCLAT. Right. So what is this appellate jurisdiction? So whose appeals will the NCLAT deal with? So we have the National Company Law Tribunal. Okay. So which is again established under the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code 2016. Okay. So the company's judgment which is provided by the National Company Law Tribunal, if they are not satisfied, the companies will again approach the NCLAT. Okay. So the second one is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India's decisions. So the companies who, with the judgment of the IBBI, the companies are not satisfied, they will again approach the NCLAT. So the third one is the Competition Commission of India's orders. So which the NCLAT has said that this CCI has nothing to do with the patent rights of the companies. And finally, the National Financial Reporting Authority orders. Okay. So these are the different areas of the scope of the NCLAT. Right. So what is the time limit? So the NCLAT will provide the judgment within 6 months from the date of receipt. Okay. So after receiving the complaint, the NCLAT will deal within 6 months. Right. So if the companies are again not satisfied with the decisions of the NCLAT, they can again appeal in the Supreme Court of India. Okay, so this is also very important point. So, and one more important role of NCLAT is whenever President asks advice, the NCLAT is bound to give the advice on the legal matters. Okay, so these are the different roles which are related to NCLAT. Now let us see the composition. So the composition is a chairperson. We have the judicial members. And we have the technical members. So they are appointed by the central government. Okay. So we have already mentioned that it is a quasi-judicial body. So the powers of it are similar to the civil courts. So under the Civil Procedure Code 1908, so this has given the powers to civil courts. So this quasi-judicial body is also having powers which are similar to the civil courts, right? So this body is having autonomy where it functions independently. So all the procedures are done independently. So these are the important facts, and the headquarters of NCLAT is at the New Delhi, right? So this is very, very important topic with regarding our prelims. So the next important topic is the thorium molten salt reactor. Okay. So thorium molten salt reactor is basically a nuclear reactor which uses fuel thorium and coolant, and medium is the molten salt. Okay, so this is a nuclear reactor which is using thorium as fuel and molten salt as a coolant and the medium of nuclear reaction. Okay, right. So this is the 4th generation advanced nuclear reactor system. Right. So this nuclear reactor will operate at high temperature and low pressure. So thereby the nuclear reaction system is very much safer and more efficient. Okay, so that is what it is making difference from the conventional reactors. Okay, so the speciality of thorium is it is a easily degradable radioactive element. Okay, so when compared to uranium and plutonium, its life is very less. So that is the speciality of thorium. Okay, okay. So why is this reactor safer than the conventional ones? Because we have the passive safety design. Okay, so whenever the reactor is overheating, then the frozen salt will melt and stop the reaction, thereby preventing the accidents. So we all know if a nuclear accident happens, there is a catastrophic effect of the impact, right? So that is why because of the frozen salt which is stopping the nuclear reaction, we have very, very less chances of the prevalence of the accidents. So one more thing is China has already successfully conducted the first ever thorium to uranium fuel conversion in this TMSR. What is TMSR? The thorium based molten salt reactor. So already China introduced it. Now India wants to develop this TMSR. Okay, so this topic is very important for us in the science and technology. Okay, so these are the important topics for today. Let's continue our discussion in the next class. Thank you.